Welcome to The Garden, a channel on practical solutions for turning data into information. In the video, How to Use Excel Top 10 Filters, we saw little to no difference between Anthony Edwards' average point per game and LaMelo Ball performance in the 2022 NBA regular season. If you are a friend of the channel, you know that the average can often mask the underlying story. A practical solution to this problem is to report the average value across different segments of the population. To accomplish this goal, we will use the switch function to segment our data and a pivot table to get average value by player and segment. Our starting point is a data table with individual performance in the 2022 NBA regular season. Let's segment our teams based on defensive ranking. Now, we are ready to define the switch function and pass in the necessary conditions. The first argument is our condition. The second argument is the test. The third argument is the value the switch function returns when our test passes our condition. In this case, the switch function assigns a value of group 1 to the top 5 ranked teams. Next, we want to assign a value of group 2 to teams with defensive ranking lower than or equal to 10, excluding teams already in group 1. The last argument is the default value, which the switch function assigns to a team when none of the previous conditions were met. In our example, team ranked 26 or higher. The next step is to insert a pivot table. For this example, let's keep both the underlying data and the pivot table in the same sheet. Now, we can use the pivot table to quickly get the average point per game for Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball in each segment. First, we need to define the dimensions of our table. Let's have the segments as rows in our table and use the players as our columns. Now that our table layout is set, let's place our points per game in the value box. For this video, we need to change the aggregation method from the default sum operation to average. The grand total shows the combined average point per game, here the midpoint between Anthony Edwards' value and that of LaMelo Ball. Let's create a second table with count of active game for each player. We copy our first table and change the aggregation method, this time from average to count. We have too many segments in our table. Let's reduce the number of segments from 6 to 3. To accomplish this goal, we will modify our switch statement. Next, we need to refresh the pivot table. So, what can we learn from this new table? We see that the average point per game for Anthony was consistent across all three groups, almost as if the defensive ranking of the team had no impact on his ability to average about 21 points per game. By contrast, LaMelo's average point per game was better against weaker teams. Although the average point per game for these two players was almost the same, the segment approach reveals a much different story. Thank you for watching this video. Join the community for more content on practical solutions for turning data into information.